Alrighty guys, we are going to be back today for another tank review. Thank you for watching. Today we will be doing the T26e4, also known as the Super Pershing. Basically it's a Pershing that they decided to weld a whole bunch of armor plates to the front of, giving it kind of a riot shield kind of thing. Means it has an interesting armor profile. Some people are convinced that its armor is not working as it's intended, but I'm not so sure. This tank used to have the dubious honor of having the worst pen at tier 8 with 170 millimeters. However, with the Pramo nerf, Wargaming did decide to buff this up to a very healthy 205 millimeters, especially for a premium tank. So we're going to take a look. I have mine only with the basic first 3 rows of equipment unlocked. If I was going to run it, I'd most likely have gunlaying drive, vertical stabilizers, hit points, engine accelerator, repair kit, and high-end consumables. DPM is rather low at 2200, however, it's not the worst. You can pump out damage fairly quickly with this tank. View range 290, hit points with the enhanced hit points will be 1484. Base hit points is 1400, so it is on the somewhat higher end of the spectrum either way. Penetration, like I said, is a healthy 205 millimeters damage, 225 damage. It is lower than the new M41 90 millimeter. That tank does have 240 alpha, which is pretty nice. Shove velocity is pretty low. This tank is not a great sniper. Penetration loss over distance, again, is also not very good. Like I said, it's 90 millimeter. Rate of fire is 9.9 rounds per minute, which gives you a reload of 6.06. Again, kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of DPM and reload. If you do switch to APCR, you will end up with a very decent 258 millimeters of APCR pen. 1800 DPM with that. If you switch to HE, you only got 45 millimeters of pen, 270 alpha, 2600 DPM. So again, nothing spectacular with this tank. Base aim time on this tank again is kind of middle of the pack, 1.87 seconds. Dispersion is pretty awful, 0.344. If you do switch your vertical stabilizer to the refined gun, you will get actually a fairly decent dispersion of 0.31, so that is something to consider. Gun stats are pretty awful. You're sitting near the bottom of the pack for everything. After dispersion, though, you have pretty good after shot dispersion. Gun depression, awesome. This tank has 10 degrees of gun depression, so it is at the top of the pack, tied with a couple of other medium tanks at tier 8. Gun elevation, 20 degrees, nothing to worry about there. Turret traverse speed is very low, very, 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 very bad. 24.30 degrees per second, so this tank is definitely falling into the category of heavium. 50 tons heavy. Your speed going forward is pretty awful, 40 kilometers per hour. 18 going backwards. Your powder weight is just terrible on all terrain. Your traverse speed is pretty awful on every single terrain. This tank is definitely not a fast and quick medium tank. It is very definitely a heavium. So does it have the armor to back up its status as a heavium? Well, as you can see here, it does have a big chunk of spaced armor here over the upper and lower plates. A little bit of a weak point here for the machine gun port, but it has even more spaced armor welded over the already very decent Pershing cupola, as well as these 2 little wings, giving it kind of a riot shield. So you're talking about on the upper plate, you're talking about 270-ish millimeters, lower plate 250 to 200 millimeters. The lower plate can be penned by most tanks. Underneath your spaced armor at the front, you have 146 millimeters, and then 106 millimeters above that. However, front of the mantlet, you're not getting through pretty much with anything. 590. The turret is fairly decent. However, above the turret, this is where you shoot it. You have a cupola here. You could shoot it on this side. You could shoot it here. You can pretty much just shoot it anywhere above the mantlet. You're going to pen. You can shoot it here. you're gonna pen. One thing a Super Pershing might do is wiggle his gun up in front of his cupola, raising up some of that spaced armor and kind of reducing the weakness. The mantlet's still pretty good down below here, but it does make this area a little bit weaker. But again, side armor, you're 80 millimeters at the front, but you only got 53 at the sides, so you can kinda-ish, not really side scrape. If you over angle, you will get wrecked, and I wouldn't recommend it. Just kind of hope that you're top tier and hope that people don't know how to aim for weak points. That's pretty much what I can say. The rear of your tank is going to be lull penned by everything with HE. All heavy tanks at least with HE. And your upper plate is not as troll as you think it is. People have a nasty habit of finding a way to penetrate it, or, you know, just not aiming for the upper plate that's obviously not pennable with our hit skins and aiming for the cupola or underneath the gun or the side of your tank if you over angle, or your lower plate with APCR, or just loading the premium rounds and just lull penning the sides of your turret. So you have an armor profile, but it's not a great armor profile. We'll get into some gameplay. Nothing spectacular here. I did ace this tank, however, my recorder decided to crap out while I was recording, so there's that. But might give you guys a little bit of appreciation what this tank can do to 2K plus games, so hope you guys enjoy. Alrighty guys, we are getting into the first bit of gameplay here. This will be on Vineyards in the Super Pershing, which I think is fairly decent for this tank, considering it does have 10 degrees of gun depression. I just aced this tank the game before, so I was still slightly irritated at myself for not successfully recording. So I was hoping for the back-to-back aces, but it did not happen, so we're counting down here. Getting into battle, you can see that this tank does have extremely slow acceleration. It's not a fast tank. Do not think it is a fast tank. Do not think that you'll get anywhere easily. You have a very slow turret traverse. You have a pretty slow tank traverse. And going up hills is the most painful, excruciating experience possible. So we had a couple of heavy tanks kind of sort of heading towards the city. I am bottom tier here, so I am just going to spot out, decide to blind shot that bush, pull back fairly slowly. I did not get spotted, so I didn't think there was anything in that bush. I do get spotted up here. There's a 5100 now in the city. I'm just going to drop back and try to support my AMX 1390 as much as I can, but he is getting wrecked. He's in a very, very, very bad position. He has a little bit of support from AT7. T71 pops out. I'm sitting sideways onto him, so I get a critical hit in him, which is annoying. So I'm going to angle up my front plate over this dude, and he pens me in the front drive wheel again. Poor angling on my part. Lost a lot of health early on that I should not have lost, but he decides to try sneaking past me, and I put a third one into him. This one actually does damage. He goes for the assassination, misses the first shot, but one into his track. It doesn't track him, but it does damage his ammo rack, which is good, I guess. I'm going to look for one into the 5100 here. Do get one into him, but now our 1390 is very, very, very low health. I am in danger of being severely outflanked. So I'm going to get down into this dip as much as I can, put one into the T71, bounce his return shot. I'm just going to try to get hold down, use my fairly decent turret to move back and forth, get some shots over that direction, aim for the cheek of the SU-152. Can't tell you how many times I've derped a shell into their mantlet and bounce. Reloaded, fairly decent rate of fire on this tank, put two into him. Borsig does get lit up. I don't want to take a hit from anyone over there. Get the kill on the SU-100, bounce a shot from the IS-3 or IS-5 over there, take one from the 5100, don't know where that shell went, bounce two from him, raise up my gun to cover up the cupola, and I bounce the last shell. So fairly decent work out of the armor, and we are somewhat bottom tier. Load the HE, miss the HE shell, very low shell velocity on HE with this tank. 5100 is going to be reloaded fairly soon here. It is 4-4. He comes out, enemy 1375 comes out, does die. So I am able to push up, eat one round from the 5100, bounce it. I'm going to be reloaded soon. Get the kill on him. And now there's one heavy tank left. He's going to be down in any bit. Fairly decent representation of what the Super Pershing could do. It's not a great tank. It's not the best heavium that is in the game currently. That honor goes to the T54 Mod 1, which is just light years better than this tank in terms of alpha and heaviumness. But this tank does have 10 degrees of gun depression, a fairly workable turret, and fairly workable upper plate armor. Yeah, it's not terrible, but I won't say it's the best tank ever either. If you can get your gun to work, it will put out the damage. Gonna move now into the second bit of gameplay. I am platooned with Zax at this point, I believe. No, actually, I'm not platooned with Zax at this point. Zax is just in voice chat. Sorry. Um, we are on Naval Frontier here. Gonna have to deal with the, again, somewhat subpar mobility. Just gonna push up. Try to get to that dominating bush at the middle as quickly as I can, but I'm fairly certain that the enemy team is going to beat me there. I am going at a fairly decent clip here. I mean, it's not like T95 pace, but again, at the same time, it's not like uh, Type 59 or any of the other kind of pace. You can see that the enemy larvae could have made it across the gap. Um, Eat the shot in my tracks. He comes out. I go for the tracking shot here, but again, the mileage damage just isn't there, so I'm not able to get the full track on him. I'm just going to try to remain hull down here. Just try to get shots in the enemy heavies as they push across. Waffle is spotted there. I am bottom tier. I'm going to load HE, put one into his gun shield, back off before he can get a shot back into me. Load AP again. Going to go for the T44, put one into him. Fairly decent shell. Snapshot ability on this tank isn't great, but it's not terrible as well, and I don't have full equipment. I'm just trying to keep my upper plate angled to bounce shots. Enemy T49 that is stock goes across. I put one into him. I'm just able to get shots in these tanks as they cross in front of me. Yeah, so just trying to put shots. M41, 90 millimeters over there in that bush, fairly decent position. Able to put another one into the T44 that would not have been possible prior to this tank's buff in penetration. Put one into the M41, 90 millimeter. Trying to trade shots, eat one from him in the tracks, put one in him in return. Can see the enemy team is going to be dead soon, and I want to feast on some damage, so I'm going to push through the cap circle, around behind the M41 90mm. I have the hit points. I'm able to take some hits from him, even though he has a better rate of fire, better DPM. I'm willing to trade my hit points for damage, because everybody wants damage, and I was still salty about not recording everything properly. Put one into him, try pulling back to lose my driver. He's trying to decide who he's going to die to. Decides that he wants to feast on me. Put one into him. Pull back just so he doesn't put too many into me. Tries to COD me. You can see the slow turret traverse here. Put another one into him. I'm going to go for the ram. Try to wiggle and jiggle. Don't quite manage it. Get a ram. And before he is killed. So I lost half my hit points, but I was happy to give those up for the extra damage, extra 600 or so damage. 2.3k, third class, nothing too spectacular. Like I said, nothing spectacular from this tank. You can do fairly well in it, but only in certain circumstances because your DPM's not enough to get you to fight your way out of a situation, nor is your armor just so overpowered as the T54 Mod 1 is. It's just, it's a meh tank. Yeah, T26e4, guys. Thank you so much for the support. For those of you who are inclined, I will have a link down to my Patreon page. Please consider supporting me. It might allow me to do a little bit more live streams and maybe a live giveaway on stream. The channel's just exploded recently, guys. I'm now at 240-ish subs last time I checked. So Let's keep up the support. Let's keep this going. Giveaway will be closed in 2 days, so you guys have that. Consider going to that video. Leave a comment down below if you have not already done so. I will be giving away two $25 gaming cards, be it Google Play, iTunes, Steam, whatever. Really hope you guys will consider leaving a like and subscribe my way if you haven't already done so. So let's get it going, guys. Tank on.